Welcome to the Awakener podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is me, the Awakener. I have the Insider with me. Welcome, Insider.
Thanks, Awakener.
Welcome to another show, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be an awesome show. We have so much to talk about. So much is happening in the world. I've been really sick the last 2 weeks, so I haven't had a chance to be here, but I'm back. So before we dive in, I just want to point out my website. It's theawakener.ca. This website is the most valuable source of information you could possibly get. Number one, you subscribe to the podcast. You can get my personal views and thoughts about what is happening in the world. I explain all the details about everything and explain why things are happening the way they're happening. And you can study it and read it and make more sense maybe than what I'm speaking, because I speak very, very fast. We get really into this. So before we begin, we just want to kind of clarify things the way we kind of feel. Yes, there's a U.S. military-industrial complex like everybody talks about. You're a genius if you know that. You should know that by now. This U.S. military-industrial complex is in a total all-out covert war with a communist conspiracy that seeks to destroy it. And this is the yin and the yang. This is the tug of war that we're witnessing in the world right now. And it's very easy to get them convoluted and get them all mixed up because they're so intertwined. The USA is completely embedded with communist agents. Likewise, the U.S. also has sources and networks overseas as well. So this is an incredible battle we're watching, and let's get the show started. What's new with you, Insider?
Well, there's so much that's happened since our last broadcast, because our last broadcast was literally a day before or hours before Hamas went and bombed, went in and attacked Israel.
And a battle that actually we predicted on the show, and actually something that we predicted on the website too, if you look at it, our blog.
Yeah, you did.
It's pretty amazing. So the reason why we predicted this war is because we were keeping track of Iran and how they're launching a special satellite. We talked about that last time. That was on the Patreon. We kind of thought that maybe this was actually not a weather satellite or a communication satellite or some imaging satellite like they say it is. That's actually a covert EMP weapon. And if you look at its kind of orbit on Earth, it kind of explains why they put it up the way it is. This was put up before the war. This was nothing other than a test run by Hamas to see how deep they could get embedded through a plethora of means, using parachutes, boats, other means like that. But this is really kind of all blown up in the last 2 weeks. So once again, sorry for being sick, but we're back. What are your latest thoughts on it, Insider?
It's just horrific what you're seeing. First of all, it's the largest number of Jews that have been slaughtered since the Holocaust. It's a level of evil. I have never seen this level of evil. I mean, beheading babies, and then you have the media denying, or parts of the media denying that babies were ever beheaded, but then the proof is out there that yes, babies were actually beheaded. Women are being raped at that music festival. People are being murdered. People are being kidnapped. Pregnant mother was shot point blank, killed. I've never seen, we see the Palestinians doing attacks like this on Israel, but not to this extent. This is just pure evil what's been going on. And now what's worse is you're seeing all these Marxists, all these radical left-wing idiots out there protesting on behalf of Palestine, calling Israel an apartheid state, talking about an occupation, which is bullshit because Israel left Gaza almost 20 years ago. And, look at what the Palestinians did. They could have turned all that beachfront property into a new Dubai. They turned it into a shit show, which is, that's all they're good for. So big shock over there. It's just a disaster. But you know what? As soon as it happened, I turned to you and I said, "Oh my God, you're right," because this is what you're predicting.
Well, it's a generational battle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Generational battle. This is something that has been in the works for quite some time. This is what we tried to explain to you on the website and in previous podcasts. This is something that is not going to be resolved for a long time coming. And this is not just about a debate about trans people. This is not a debate about the lesbian community or gay community. This is not a debate over taxes or policy. This is much more than that. This is actually a war, a giant struggle of the Western world versus a covert communist conspiracy, as we summarize it again. This conspiracy has been attacking the U.S. through a plethora of means, weakening it, getting it, fatiguing it out over many years, dragging it into various fake wars, and the U.S. military-industrial complex on its own doing a bunch of damage to the Middle East as well. So this is a complicated tug of war, and this is not going to end anytime soon. We were, I guess we're kind of fortunate to kind of be able to see all this many years ago and kind of lead people toward the truth and kind of explaining what's happening. But I don't see peace in the Middle East ever, to be honest with you. This battle is far greater than that.
I don't see peace in the Middle East either. I view this as almost a biblical level battle that's going on. So, do you think that this is going to bring Iran into the war? Is this going to start World War III?
Well, Iran is already in the war, to be honest with you. Iran is funding a whole network of proxies all over the Middle East, Hezbollah, Hamas. If you go on the website, you know that the Palestinian thing is a KGB creation. Yasser Arafat was a KGB creation. We talked about that. I'm not saying the Western world is perfect. I'm not saying that we're innocent. I'm just trying to explain to you the battle of what's going on, how this Palestinian kind of movement that everyone's talking about, these left-wing people pushing all this agenda, is anti-Israel, anti-Western world. It's the same stuff they talk about all the time, colonialism. You guys were Western world is a horrible thing. And all these people, they don't think properly, because if the Western world is such an oppressor, all these people should go live in Gaza and see what happens to them.
100%.
I guarantee you there is no LGBT community whatsoever in Gaza.
No, and no transgenders, zero transgenders. It's the stupidest thing, because if you want, if you're anti-gun, Israel, doesn't allow guns. If you are LGBTQ, Israel is totally open and free for that. If you want intermarriage, Israel is allowed for that. If you want to be transgender, Israel is allowed for that. Everything that the left stands for doesn't make any sense whatsoever, that they're all standing for Palestine, which just shows you that they stand for evil, and all they will represent is evil and bad things, not any of these woke ideologies that they preach.
Well,
it's
nonsense. It's a battle for control. It's just that simple. I mean, if you think about the three fronts that really the Western world is under threat right now, is number one is Taiwan. We've talked about that, right? Number two, Israel and the relationship with Saudi Arabia that it has right now, where Saudi Arabia is kind of being led toward normalization with Israel. Saudi Arabia is hated in the Western world, or sorry, not in the East, because of their influence with the infidel, which they call America, and also in Europe. You have what's happening with Zelensky in Ukraine. This is like the three fronts of everything. So if you think about this war and this battle, why are they attacking the United States of America? And I know, Insider, you know the perfect answer for that, which you could probably answer right now.
Well, just because, like you said, they already control, out of the three largest militaries in the world, they already control the top two, not the top two, but two of them, Russia and China. All they need to do is bankrupt America, destroy America, take over America, weaken America's military, decimate America's military, control it, and that's it. Their agenda is global. It's a one world government. That's it.
You can't have Taiwan, you can't have Israel and Saudi Arabia, and you can't have Europe when the United States of America is ready to meet you. So the events that are unfolding today, I know people don't agree with all the military stuff that's happening. The events that are unfolding today are because the communist conspiracy under Barack Obama was within striking distance of getting the Western world by the throat, mainly without knowing what was going to happen to it, the Western world. So this is like, what is happening is the greatest story that's really ever been written, and how it's evolved over the last few years. And even if you listen to my old material from 3 or 4 years ago, the discussions we talk very much about the events that are unfolding right now.
Right.
And it's crazy to look back and to kind of, the predictions we made and the stuff. It's amazing. Now, moving on, all the stuff that relates underneath this is we have the Speaker Johnson was elected. And you can already see that the media and the left-wing people are already attacking, this guy was put in place and he has this, conspiracy to overturn the election. Like, if you can't realize by now that Joe Biden didn't get, how many votes did he get? 85 million votes? It's impossible.
80 million, like more than Obama in 2008. Come on.
And he did it at the same time while Trump got 76 million. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's really going to be interesting to see. You can really see, number one, how this kind of MAGA movement is kind of getting stronger and stronger and stronger as time goes on. It's starting to become more normal. And we talked about last podcast, we talked about the local, the elections in the United States and what's going to come in regards to the cheating that will be, you can see this Hunter Biden case is dragging on almost to this election.
Yes.
And if nothing major happens before then, you are going to witness, I believe, cheating like you have never witnessed before. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you, that Joe Biden gets 130 million votes. and the cheating is just so overtly blatant because they have no choice to do what they have to do to keep him in power.
He'll get more votes than registered voters in America.
Now, if you're lost about what we're talking about and you kind of think, well, what kind of track are they on? Like, you have to really go on the website to explain or to understand what is happening. This is very much like somebody does A, another person does B. This is like the one up on everyone. So you really have to kind of go back and listen to some of my material to understand what we're talking about. If you're confused, just write a comment, or you can go to the website and send me a message, and I'll be happy to explain it to you. So in regards to the election in the States, and this MAGA movement that's kind of taking control right now, where do you think things are going to be in the next couple of years?
Well, I mean, next year, a year from now, is the next general election, right? The next presidential
Can
election.
you believe it's only a year away?
Yeah, well, we're counting down the days until it happens, and hopefully, it won't be a cheating. But like you said, you like it very well could be, and it's got to be so blatant in our face that it makes 2020 pale by comparison.
Right.
So, but yeah, so we have one more year for that election. We'll see what's going to happen now with the new speaker. He says he's going to go ahead with the impeachment of Biden. They're bringing out more evidence against Biden. Now they have a direct payment basically to Joe Biden. So it's not looking good for them. But like you said, like even the Hunter thing, they're dragging it out. It's very slow. It's very deliberate, possibly. And Trump keeps getting. Trump keeps getting. Go ahead.
Sorry, do you know what the Hunter Biden case reminds me of?
What?
It's like walking through a field of mines.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can see like the prosecutors and everybody are tiptoeing around this giant answer. And it's like anything is going to happen any day now where it's just going to explode the whole thing.
Agreed. Agreed.
And the explosion of the whole thing is going to lead to really what we talked about in this podcast for a long time, which is the truth. It's going to lead to investigations all across the Western world in regards to influence by foreign governments on politicians, blackmail, extortion, who our leaders are covertly working for, if they're being co-opted. And that will extend all across the Western world and lead to all kinds of people. Everyone are going to be like, hey, I knew that guy was being co-opted. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is something else that we've talked about in this podcast. What do you think? Like, it really seems obvious to me. I know we talked about this before, Insider. It really seems like the communist conspiracy is being forced to do two things before this next election. Number one, actually do a full-on world war to keep Joe Biden in the White House under the guise of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
Or number two, maybe this is the first one they do, is, like we said, cheat the election so blatantly that they have to do anything to keep their puppet in the White House, and in doing so reveal all their cards, I would say, right?
So I think it's a combination of the two. The big talk south of the border in the U.S. right now is that Joe Biden is going to push a big war because he wants to be a wartime president, and every time there's a wartime president, the wartime president gets reelected. But I think the situation economically is so bad around the world, not just in the United States, but say in the United States, it's so bad that no matter war or no war, people are going to vote against Joe Biden. They're going to vote for the Republican nominee, whoever that may be. It may be Donald Trump, and maybe somebody else. So I don't think a wartime thing is going to help him. I think he's going to lead that down that path. I think something like that is going to happen with the hope that their poll numbers will go back up. I think they're going to then realize their poll numbers are not going back up no matter what they do. And so therefore they have to do cheating at an astounding level in order to keep Joe Biden in the White House.
Yeah, there's just only two options really where it's going to. It's got to be either they just fully cheat, or number one, there's just such a huge national emergency that there really is no election and Joe Biden is forced to just stay in the White House.
Well, they might do that. They might pull that trigger, right?
This is why this is the greatest story that's ever been told right now, because you can really see this giant battle starting to unfold in front of everybody, and people seeing the two sides, how they're pushing against each other. And this plan to get Israel, this plan to attack Israel, this plan to attack Taiwan, this plan to perhaps take all of Europe back by Russia, that's been planned for a long, long time.
Of course, no question. I think there is going to be something triggered because look what happened the last election. A year before the last election, what happened? COVID was unleashed on the world, first in China and then around the world by,
Of course.
March,
Of
right?
course. Yeah.
So that gave them a chance to do so much cheating and so much what they were going after under the guise of COVID. So I wouldn't be surprised that something is ticking down the timeline. Something's going to be happening either, this month, next month, early spring, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and that's just exactly the case. This grandeur plan to get the Western world really depends on having a control president in office, right? And we talked about how Hillary was being blackmailed, controlled, and extorted. And we talked many times about this, and we talked about how like the reason COVID came out of that lab was number one to stop all these investigations.
Mm-hmm.
After the Russia fiasco, it didn't work. The impeachment didn't work. Then came the bioweapon to basically pinpoint, get Trump off the nuclear button. And really the communist conspiracy is really kind of doing themselves in. And they are facing a perspective of Trump or somebody in the Republican Party getting back on the finger on the nuclear button.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me that there will be no plans to take Taiwan or Israel or Europe on that note, because that's optically just the conspiracy depends on operating the shadows and advancing its control over the Western world and the planet without anybody kind of understanding what is happening and why it's happening. And having, a Republican on the nuclear button is just not something that these people want. Anyway,
Correct.
speaking about nuclear weapons, we should probably go to the Patreon because I got a bunch of stuff to talk about with North Korea
Mm-hmm.
and other stuff coming that you'll see in the news soon. So why don't we head there now?